There's speculation about the future of HS2, the high-speed rail line from London to Birmingham, Manchester and Leeds. What impact will Brexit have on the project, or a new Prime Minister? To find some of the answers, we've come to this building in the centre of Birmingham, which houses HS2's construction HQ, and an interview with the man in charge of the project. So we'll just put a radio mic on. He's the man who helped deliver the 2012 London Olympics. Now he's the chairman of HS2 Limited. And with hundreds of staff already working in these offices, I wanted to know if HS2 was still on track or has it hit the buffers?
Well, phase one, which is London to Birmingham, is going through the final stages of approval through Parliament. It's completed its passage through the House of Commons, and now it's going through the House of Lords, and we expect royal assent, which is the crucial legislation that empowers us to carry out the railway construction by the end of this calendar year.
Now, we've asked people to submit some questions to us, and Joe Rukin from the Stop HS2 campaign has sent this question in.
Recently, HS2 Limited revealed that they'd had a £9 billion overrun on their costs for building the project, but at the same time said that they'd magically found £9 billion worth of cost savings to wipe it out in an instant.
Well, they haven't come out of the air. What we've had is, over the last 3 months, we've had 3 major reviews of the project, and all of those have come back, and overall summary, I'd say, with all of them is steady progress.
Now, we've had a couple of tweets from viewers. James Muir, he is asking about Brexit. He said, will there be delays to the commencement of HS2 because of Brexit? And Lee Daniels says, with us leaving the EU, will it have any impact on grants given to the project?
So firstly, on the first question, will Brexit delay it? I don't think so, no. This project is not subject to any European legislation. The project's benefited to date from some £40 million worth of EU grants. It's not predicated on substantial grants coming from the EU.
OK. We've also been out onto the streets of Birmingham today to ask people generally what they think of HS2, and have a look at this.
Waste of money.
Why?
I just think the trains don't run perfectly as it is.
It's going to open up the country, really.
Maybe our priorities lie elsewhere. I don't know whether they're going to be reviewing it.
Should bring the country closer together, especially at current political climate that we seem to be suffering in.
Should make good what we've got already.
Well, it seemed like 50-50, wasn't it? Which at this stage, I mean, it's a hugely major project, is impacting communities. So I've always thought that this will take time for people to have confidence in it and its success.
So clearly business as usual at HS2, but the big question is, will those appointed to Theresa May's new cabinet need convincing too?
Chris Grayling has now taken over as Transport Secretary, so will that mean a change of emphasis when it comes to high speed too? Joe Rukin is from the Kenilworth-based Stop HS2 campaign. Joe, afternoon to you.
Afternoon, Phil.
Any difference, do you think, in this appointment of Chris Grayling? Any impact do you think it'll have?
Well, we really don't know at this stage, because we've obviously, in the last couple of hours, we've been trying to find out whether Chris Grayling has ever really expressed any opinion on HS2, and he simply hasn't, and neither has Theresa May. The only time that either of them did anything was in January 2013, when the entire cabinet was wheeled out to visit, on a road trip to visit the country, when Phase 2 was announced. And that's it. Grayling didn't vote in the second reading of HS2 bill, and there seems to be no explanation for that. He did vote for it in the third reading, but that's it. And obviously, being a cabinet minister who wasn't on the route, so wasn't given a free pass not to turn up.
You'd imagine you'd followed the whips there, wouldn't you, on that one?
Yeah, you've got to follow the whips, but he simply has no history whatsoever, as far as we can find out. So
I mentioned there, Joe, that he's
better than Patrick McLaughlin.
He's a close confidant of Theresa May. He was very close to her during a leadership campaign. So we take from that if his position will be Theresa May's position will be his position on HS2. But what that position is, we are no the wiser for. I mean, I know you've been campaigning for this. It's been 6 years since HS2 was first announced. Is there a point where you and campaigners like you will give up this fight because it's just inevitable that it will happen?
Well, if HS2 gets royal assent at the end of the year, then it's probably going to happen. But, there is still that window of opportunity to stop it now. And obviously in the last couple of weeks, we've had some really bad news for HS2. They've said that they've had a £9 billion cost overrun, and then, as if by magic, have found the £9 billion savings, down the back of the sofa or whatever. And when you've got figures like that, when there's such massive variance in the cost at this late stage, you've got to question whether there's any credibility in any of the figures they're putting forward. And not only that, they failed review point 1, right? That was a test, an internal test. They failed it on both cost and schedules. Yeah. And they weren't meant to be allowed to start the tendering process as a result of failing it. And the DfT just said, doesn't matter. You failed yet
circumvented that. I know
ahead.
you posed this question to HS2's David Higgins, trying to query these £9 billion, the project £9 billion over budget. You're clearly not convinced the sums add up, and you're not the only one.
No, absolutely. And even when they say they've found $9 billion worth of savings, they've only guaranteed $2 billion. So there's still $7 up in the ether. Okay. And if you add that onto the official cost, it brings the actual cost of HS2, as we currently stand, £63 billion. Now, that has a knock-on effect on the benefit-cost ratio. Philip Hammond, when he was Transport Secretary, he's now Chancellor, said if the benefit-cost ratio drops below 1.5, he'd have serious questions to ask, and we're pretty sure that it actually stands below 1.5 at this point in time. So he should really be looking at this again as well.